What's up, everybody? It's your boy JP, back again with another video. And today I have the Xiaomi 11T. Now this phone right here is rocking the all-new MediaTek Dimensity 1200 Ultra. It has 8 gigs of RAM, and let's see, I done lost my I think my model, I think I have the one that has 256 gigs internal, but it has 8 gigs of RAM. You can also get these with 12 gigs. These also have the software, the RAM boost feature, except on here it's 3 gigs. The last Xiaomi phone I used that had the RAM boost only offered 2 gigs. This one has 3 gigs. So with this 8 gig model, you're effectively getting 11 gigs. Odd number, but I mean, think about it though. There's not a lot of phones out there that have more than 8 gigs of RAM, so it's pretty cool that you have that amount of RAM. And it really does work. It makes a difference. Again, 256 gigs internal. It has the 6.7 inch E4 AMOLED screen, and I'm gonna talk about that in a minute here too, because I've been getting a lot of questions how this phone compares to the Pogo F3 GT, or more specifically the one that I actually had, the Redmi K40 Gaming Edition. And also, a lot of people want to know about the Dimensity 1200 Ultra. But moving right along, you got your clear TPU, you got your SIM ejector tool and some reading material. You got your 67 watt charger and your USB Type-C cable. And I got it in the graphite color here. Really nice. Really nice. You see that graphite in the light. It's very nice. You got your camera setup there. The camera setup on this phone is actually about the same as the 11T Pro, which I'll try to touch on and keep it simple as well. Try to be brief about it here. You notice that Xiaomi has done away with the Mi branding, and these are the successors to last year's the Mi 10T and Mi 10T Pro, and those were phones that I really enjoyed last year. Those were some of my favorite phones last year, or favorite series, I should say. There's a lot more. There's a few more differentiating factors here this time. Well, kind of. Last year with the 10T and 10T Pro, the camera was the difference, but they both still rocked the Snapdragon 865. And if you remember in my video, I even said that it should have had the 865 Plus because the 865 Plus by that point was a thing. But there was actually a lot of devices last year that should have had the 865 Plus and did not. And of course, I'm sure COVID played a big role in that. One big phone that surprisingly didn't have it that I thought for sure would have was the Red Magic 5S. It simply had the Snapdragon 865 like the 5G earlier in the year. It just had other upgrades. And surprisingly, the Galaxy Note 20 series had the 865 Plus. And Samsung hasn't opted for the mid-cycle refreshed Snapdragon in a few years now. They didn't this year with the Galaxy Fold 3 and Flip 3. Because last year, if I'm not mistaken, the Fold 2 and the Fold 2 came out at the same time as the Note 20 series, and it had the Plus. But someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But moving right along. The difference in those phones last year was the camera. Now, they also had 144 Hz LCD screens. Right here with the 11T series, you're getting 120 Hz OLED screens. So you're going down from 144 to 120, but you're getting an OLED instead of an LCD. And not only are you getting an OLED, you're getting an E4 OLED. Now I know what you're going to say. Justin, all of Xiaomi's AMOLED equipped phones this year were E4s. That's not true. Speaking of which, the Pogo F3 GT, also known as the Redmi K40 Gaming Edition, it was the one and only K40 that did not have a Snapdragon processor, but instead had the Dimensity 1200. It didn't have the Snapdragon 870 or 888. You notice that its punch hole was bigger. That's because it wasn't an E4 screen; it was an E3 screen. This is basically a MediaTek powered phone, OLED equipped. That's also E4 with the with the smaller punch hole that matches most of the other products in their line here. This year anyways here, as you can see there. Because it was just that was literally how you could tell like which one was which, for certain things, because the if it had the bigger cutout, it was it was an OLED from last generation, and it wasn't necessarily just MediaTek devices that had that, whereas they used the E4s for the Qualcomms, because the Pogo X3 Pro. Well, actually, you know what? That's not a good example. Scratch that, because that wasn't OLED. The X3 Pro was LCD, just as the X3 GT was. So, anyways, there y'all. It's kind of hard sometimes to keep up with it. But, anyways, again, for the second time, moving along. This has the Dimensity 1200 Plus, and that is the big differentiating thing this year between Xiaomi's T series. They no longer have the same processor with different cameras and faster charging speeds, etc., which, there is a difference in charging speed here as well. But the big change here is the 11T has the Dimensity 1200 Ultra, and the 11T Pro has the Snapdragon 888. If you watch reviews, the Pro, a lot of times, most of the time, still edges out the 11T in the camera department. Not by much, though. Excuse me. The 11T right here has gotten rave reviews on its camera, especially for its price. And it really is that good. I've taken shots with it. It is good. But, of course, I'm not the camera guy, as a lot of y'all already know. But the 888 equipped 11T Pro barely etches it out. And it probably has to do with, Qualcomm's, optimization and just the better camera tech that may be behind the Snapdragon chipset. Maybe, again, back to optimization, it could be a thing on Xiaomi's part. I mean, because, it could be a factor of things. It could be a huge factor of things. Now, as you know, the K40 Gaming Edition and the Pogo F3 GT use the Dimensity 1200. The F3 GT was announced around the same time that OnePlus came out with the OnePlus Nord 2 5G, which featured a variation of the Dimensity 1200 called the Dimensity 1200 AI. This has a variation similar that is called the Dimensity 1200 Ultra. I basically consider it their plus, because if you remember last year, they did have a Dimensity 1000 and then a Dimensity 1000 Plus, and I raved about those chipsets. Same thing here. I will rave about this Dimensity 1200 Plus. I mean, well, it is essentially a Plus, but I mean Ultra. It is phenomenal, and I raved about it in my OnePlus Nord 2 video with the 1200 AI. I don't know if they are one and the same, because again, the AI on the OnePlus was for the camera system, but this phone here has a phenomenal camera system. And it does score higher benchmarks than the F3 GT. Of course, you're going to miss those physical pop-up triggers that the F3 GT has that this one obviously does not. We'll go over everything right quick here. You got your speaker grill. You got your USB Type-C. Let's see. Nothing on that side there. And another speaker there. And yeah, there's no headphone jack on this one either. But it is glass all the way around. It's actually Gorilla Glass Victus. So that's also another upgrade over the F3 GT. The X3 GT with the Dimensity 1100 and an LCD screen used Victus, but not the F3 GT with the OLED and the Dimensity 1200. It used Gorilla Glass 5. But you get best of both worlds right here. You get an E4 OLED protected by Victus. It is 1080. It is 1080p full HD plus resolution. and again, it's 6.7 inches. It's flat, and it's just this thing has been a performance juggernaut. I mean, it's done great. Um, you know, the 11T Pro, again, I mean, the camera sensors are actually the same. The telephoto might be a little different, or wait, not the telephoto, I'm sorry, but the macro might be a little different. But I really don't even think it is, but it could be. Again, y'all know I'm not the camera guy, but the main sensor on here is a 108 megapixel shooter. And it is one of Samsung's latest ones. It's not an old one. Um, the 11T Pro has been regarded as being able to take pictures just as good as the Mi 11 Pro, not the Mi 11 Ultra, but the Mi 11 Pro. As y'all know, I didn't have either the Pro or the Ultra, but I did have the standard Mi 11, and the 11T Pro supposedly takes better shots than the regular Mi 11, and is on par, if not better, than the Mi 11 Pro. That's right, talking about the 11T Pro. Again, it gets confusing. But with the 11T here, the non-Pro, you're getting the same sensors. Again, it could be a couple of different things, but this is not far behind Qualcomm or the Qualcomm equipped Mi 10 or the 11T Pro, the Qualcomm equipped one. This has gotten rave reviews itself for in that department there. The other big difference is that this has 67 watt charging, whereas the Pro has 120 watt charging. So that's that's almost twice as fast. But I'm gonna tell y'all, this 67 watt will still blow your mind. When I got the regular Mi 11 at the very beginning of the year, the very first Snapdragon 888 equipped phone, it had 67 watt charging, and I was blown away at how fast it was. I mean, it's no different now. But yeah, I mean, it's just been. I mean, this phone has had no slowdowns, no hiccups. I do have the 120, the 120 hertz refresh rate enabled. You have to enable it in the settings; it's not there by default. That helps anybody there. But I mean, heck, even out of the box, the 60 hertz was just smooth as butter. I mean, this phone is just blazing. I find this phone more exciting because the 11T Pro, like the 10T last year should have, it should have gotten the 888 Plus. A lot of manufacturers that typically release a second flagship later on the year and use Qualcomm's Snapdragon Plus chipset of the year, their mid-cycle refresh. A lot of them didn't do it last year. Because of COVID, and I think Qualcomm was even kind of late announcing the A65 Plus. This year, things have kind of gone back to normal, where the Plus was, came out earlier, like it did, with the 855 Plus, etc. The companies that generally jump on it that didn't last year are going back to it this year. I do have the Red Magic 6S Pro. I just got it yesterday. I've had this phone right here, the 11T from Xiaomi, for about a week now. But I got the Red Magic 6S Pro yesterday, and that does have the 888 Plus, not just the 888 with a few other little simple upgrades. Which that'll be my next overview. But I'm disappointed that Xiaomi didn't go with the 888 Plus. And that's why I find the 11T right here so exciting, because they did go for, the Dimensity for MediaTek's, plus version of the Dimensity 1200, which they call the 1200 Ultra, trying to be different, trying to do, they didn't want to call it the Plus, they call it the Ultra. It's the same thing. Of course, it's just more powerful. Benchmarks will show you that this phone, scores very high. It's not far behind. It's still a decent number between it and the 888, but you'll find that this scores above the 870. And of course, the 870 is found in phones like the regular Xiaomi, or not Xiaomi, but Redmi K40, for example. And this is just I just found more excitement in it. Again, the camera sensors are the same, unlike last year where that was the big difference between the T and the non-T. This year, there's the same sensors. I imagine putting Google software on here. I don't see why it wouldn't get just as good a shots as the Pro variant. Unless it's something to do hardware wise with the 888 processor, and which I'm sure it is because Qualcomm has always done good in the camera department as well. I definitely give them that. But yeah, I mean you're basically getting a Pogo F3 GT without the gaming triggers, but stronger glass, a better OLED because it's an E4. It has a smaller cutout there. A slightly better processor. It's the mid-cycle refresh of what that already had. Not a big difference though. Because even the camera module in the back is actually designed like it. It just doesn't have the lines through it for the RGB. But yeah, I mean it's been great. The fingerprint sensors, it's on the side, and it is blazing fast. I mean it's definitely one of the fastest I've ever seen. It does have a face recognition, always on display, of course. The normal goodies. But keep trying to think. I keep trying to think if I missed something here. Again, it does have the stereo speakers there, and the ultra smooth 120 hertz refresh rate. Which I think a lot of y'all would rather have with an OLED instead of a 144 hertz LCD screen. So I wouldn't necessarily consider that a downgrade. Considering that you're not only getting the OLED, but you're getting an E4 OLED. So and the distraction that is the punch hole is smaller. So anyways, hope y'all enjoyed this video. Hit me up. Like I said, I got one coming up soon for the Red Magic 6S Pro. And I will see y'all in that one. Peace out. And one more thing, y'all. I need to touch on something here real quick, because I know a lot of people really only pay attention to my channel for this one particular thing. This phone does get 5G on AT&T and T-Mobile here in the U.S., obviously depending on where you're at. Again, as I said in many of my videos, I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, and 5G does work on this phone with AT&T and T-Mobile. Obviously, I have a lot more experience, a lot more time with AT&T. I just use other friends, T-Mobile SIM cards and test out, stuff like that. But as far as AT&T goes, the 5G connectivity is amazing. It does have band N5, N41, N66, and at GSM Arena they actually list all the bands for this phone actually. So I think Xiaomi is starting to just let it all out there, because again, I've had other phones that have been having AT&T, or band, 5G N5, the N5 band for, which works on AT&T's 5G here in the U.S., but they won't even have it listed, but it'll work, and it's there, and I use apps to figure out exactly what band I'm on, but GSM Arena, and as well as other sites, if you look up the Xiaomi 11T, I mean, it has almost every band imaginable. N41, N66, N5. Anyways, I was thinking in my video, I know I'm missing something, and missing was probably the most critical part of my videos that a lot of people actually come here for. So I just wanted to edit this and drop that in here at the end, and that's it. That's what I have for y'all. So again, hit me up in the comments and let me know what y'all think, and I will see y'all in the next video.